Well, as you say, I own the motorcycle garage here in Phoenix, Arizona. I've been in this business now for 48 years. My father started a Harley-Davidson dealership back in 1975. And I was only a young kid at the time. We opened up on my birthday, April Fool's Day, 1975. And then I worked there till 2006 when we decided to sell. I had been offered about a week before I was ready to retire, basically. Harley-Davidson called me up and said, would you come out here and work at the desert testing facility at the GM plant in Mesa? Because I had attained what's called Master of Technology. There's Master Tech, and then there's Master of Technology. And when I left in '06, there were only 22 techs in the country that had that rating.
How was your experience at Harley-Davidson?
My experience with Harley was, for the most part, really good. You know, I always tell people my blood is orange and black, the Harley colors. It's just the way it is. I get calls in this business every single day to work on metric bikes. I don't do metric. Harley, Indian, Victory, choppers, anything with an S&S, RevTech engine, any American V-twin, I'll work on. But the metric bikes, it's just not my thing. I have no interest in them. I don't have the expertise in them.
You said you went to Harley-Davidson factory school. How was that?
I did. So Harley gave me credit from 1975 through 1980. They gave me 2.5 years of credit. Because at the time, I went on winter break as a senior in high school to Milwaukee. My father gave me a bus ticket. I was out in Milwaukee for 2 or 3 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks. And he pulled some strings at the time with John Davidson, one of the founder's sons, obviously. My father was friendly with him. And I was able to go to school, and I was the youngest ever to go. There's a black and white picture over there of me on the wall, sitting in the back row, scared, pretty much, to be honest with you. And so once I graduated high school, I remember I walked into the shop one day. At the time, we had a mechanic by the name of Bob Gannon, who I loved like a father. But my father and Bob didn't really get along. My father said, "You're fired, you're now the head mechanic." And my very first job was a set of old shovel heads that the customer brought the parts in. The wrong guides were the wrong valves. And I had to figure out that was my very first job.
What was the moment where you were like, okay, I gotta run my own shop?
Well, it's funny you say that because I was in a family business, but you had to earn it. My father wasn't gonna give you anything. We were like water and oil. We didn't mix, we didn't get along. I often tell people, if you ever watched Orange County Choppers, which you saw the relationship, that was my relationship, except the difference, a family meeting was a fist fight. Because we were passionate about the business, we fought over a lot of stuff on prices on bikes and all kinds of stuff. But going back to your question, I had a lot of customers at the time who say, well, why don't you open your own shop? And I was somewhat probably scared to do it. You know, you have the comfort of working for a family business. Didn't make a lot of money for a long time. Until about 93 and later, I finally started making good money. I opened up this business. I own the property. I bought this building with my wife. My wife, who's she's my best friend, my partner. If it wasn't for her, I don't know that I'd be in this business because she's always encouraged me.
All right, where do you see the motorcycle industry going?
I think this industry is going away, quite honestly. The issue is the EPA is really coming down on bikes. One of the companies we deal with, Drag Specialties, the handwriting's on the wall where you're not even going to be able to purchase performance stuff like cams and things like that. They're not going to sell it. This is going to become an electric industry. There's a lot of change coming in the industry. It's unfortunate. My favorite thing to do would be if I could just go on the bench and work and not have to do stuff like this, as you know, because we have my Bill on Bikes YouTube channel. Make sure you plug Bill on Bikes, YouTube and Facebook, 3 separate words. So we don't want to get some bicycle guy, we don't like him.
So what about that bike, right there?
So I built this bike back in 2001. When I was younger, I guess I would be considered a trophy hunter back in the day. I used to win a lot of shows, build a lot of bikes for customers. I built this one for myself. I have probably 300 hours labor in it. It started as just a regular Heritage Softail, and I had a customer that the neck bearing was loose. So I got to keep his old frame, cut the front section off, send to Harley to get a new frame for him with stamped VIN. And I had another guy by the name of Mark Rowe rake and stretch this one and everything else is on me. Supercharged, the fenders, all the metal work. I have probably 300 hours labor in it. It was featured in American Iron, which is that feature right there. I've had 3 or 4 in American Iron, a couple Reader's Rides, an Easy Rider. I've won most of the big bike shows in the country. The Rat's Hole show with an XR1000 I did. Boardwalk show with a Softail. World of Wheels multiple times. Shows all around the country. It's cool that about a third of my life has been involved in Harley history, which is pretty neat. And these are articles. I was technical editor at Ultimate Motorcycling Magazine when we had the radio show. And that used to formerly be known as the Rob Report. So those are all articles that I either wrote or I wrote with my co-host at the time, Todd. And we were on 90 stations throughout the United States, nationally syndicated, and we had a huge following in Australia and Great Britain. We had a thing called the motorcycle helpline, and we would get all kinds of questions sent to us. We'd answer questions, during the week. We'd go. It was pretty neat.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So I know you also do a bit of forensic work.
Yep.
On motorcycles. Tell me how that is.
Because of the ratings I have and the experience, pretty clean cut guy, never been in trouble. You can't, they go through your life with a microscope pretty much. I'm lucky I get to work for attorneys and judges around the country. I still get to work with Harley engineers quite often. I've been doing that now for, I think, since 2011. So I do quite a few cases a year. I can't talk a lot about the cases. Quite honestly, I've been offered a TV show at that time. They'd follow me around, but the information's confidential. A lot of times I have to sign non-disclosure agreements, things that I see I can never talk about. There's test facilities that I've been in that I can't talk about, like wheel facilities and stuff. I've taken video of the outside, but no cameras inside, and I can't really talk about what we're doing. But
let me hear one of your absolute most funniest stories that you have experienced.
Funny stories. Well, again, this is, we'll go with the Orange County chopper analogy because they did some crazy stuff. My father and I did all that stuff way before. I'll give you a couple stories. One time he had what's called a bang stick. We're big into fishing back east, right? Sport fishing, tuna, all that stuff. So a bang stick's a long pole with a shotgun shell on the end, and when you get the fish up near the boat, you whack it and kill it, basically, to get it on board. Well, one time I'm walking by my father and we're in the back shop just outside one of the doors, and he said, "Hey, I'm walking by there's a piece of plywood over near one of the dumpsters." He said, "I bet you don't have the guts to go over and hit this bang stick against that piece of plywood." Well, I did it. The splinters went everywhere. I had stuff, so I didn't put my eye out. But back then I was crazy. I'd do anything. Another time, I came into work and I had my bench set up where I was near the parts room, and I had 2 benches and I could see all my mechanics working. And I also had access to the parts room, and we had a basement, a very long basement, the length of the building, real long. And downstairs we had parts store, t-shirts, as Donovan would know, loves t-shirts, Mr. Printer. And so one morning, it's a Saturday morning, busy as hell, people upstairs, and so I'm on that level floor, but my father's downstairs with his buddy Ernie, and I hear bang, bang, and I'm like, I thought something wrong with the compressor because we had problems. I go down to go, so I gotta see what's going on with the compressor. Go down there, smoke everywhere. So my father and his knucklehead friend Ernie were shooting new guns, and they had set up a gun range down in the basement with people upstairs. They're shooting down there, and I'm like, oh my! So I go back to work. Next day comes, I go downstairs, I do my routine, lights on, turn the compressor on, and I look down the alley there, and I'm like, what the hell's all over the floor? Well, the 2 knuckleheads had been shooting and set up their little targets with it's like the blind leading the blind. They missed the targets. They shot cases of oil. Cases and cases and cases of oil. So I remember coming up the stairs. I go in the office, I put my feet up on the desk, and my father's looking at me like, "What are you doing?" I said, "How you doing today? Good? Yeah, what? What are you doing?" I said, come on with me. I take him downstairs and I show him the oil. He goes, "Oh shit." And I said, "See you later." Even the mechanic that took my place after wrote a letter saying, "I don't know how this guy handled the stress." And he left. His name was Jason. He was a good wrench. I liked him a lot, but he didn't last long. I think he drives truck now. He said, "That's it. I'm done."
All right. Well, last thing would be, do you have any advice for anybody that's within this motorcycle industry, whether that advice of owning a dealership or owning a independent shop themselves?
Well, look, if you have a passion and you want to do it, I'm the last guy that's going to tell you not to do it. But I will tell you this: I've had multiple kids from MMI come in here. None of them have made it. I had one kid that was here literally for 6 months. It took him 2 days to put a set of 4 controls on a Sportster. He mucked them all up. I had to replace them. He came to me one day and said, eventually I want my name above the door. I go, what do you mean? Like, he goes, I want my name in a year. I want to be like part owner. I looked at it like he had 10 heads. I go, you kidding me? And yeah, obviously he didn't make it. And I've dealt with a lot of that. I think the industry's going away. It's changing. It won't be what I grew up in, the mechanical side of it. There's a lot of electronics now, which I'm very good at electronics and writing maps and working on and not everybody's good at electronics. Sadly, I think the industry is going to go all electric eventually, or pretty much all electric, and there's no money in it. How are you going to make money? Tires and brakes, occasional battery. Now that battery is very expensive, but you're going to go back to the manufacturer for it unless things change. The battery for the live wire from Harley is $8,000. That battery, that's $8,000. And that's from a while ago. And they haven't sold very well. They haven't sold very many of them. So what's the difference between an electric Harley, an electric Triumph, or a Honda, or a Kawasaki, a Yamaha? To me, they're all the same. They're electric. They have no stuff. They mean nothing to me. And it's just, maybe the younger generation, that's your thing, and you're living in Scottsdale, every other car is a Tesla, but he just laid off 10% of his workforce. So unfortunately, I think the industry, I would recommend, my recommendation would be probably not to get into it. I hate to say that, but maybe part-time as a side thing, that's great. But to make your livelihood, if I had a dealership today, I'd be selling, because I see the handwriting on the wall. Is make sure you come to the Motorcycle Garage here in Phoenix, Arizona for all your work, services, anything you need, engine performance work, dyno tuning, we can do it.
Perfect.
But you gotta wait, because I'm very busy, and you'll be happy when it's done.